Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. I do happen to have a yoga mat, and actually I'm quite color coordinated, if I may say, with my yoga mat, and even my carpet. If you don't have a yoga mat, don't worry. Find an area in your house that's carpeted, or maybe you've got a rug, as I do. That's going to be a fabulous yoga mat for today. I also have a couple of yoga blocks. A really great and easy substitute would be 2 thick books. A folded blanket, literally the folded blanket that I just stole from my dog Tippy off the couch. Maybe you've got a beach towel that would work. And I am barefoot, but if you're more comfortable with shoes on, all good, no worries. Let's start standing in our foundational pose, mountain pose, with our feet hip distance and parallel. Turn your palms away from one another, but let's feel that kind of scooping action. So it's not just a flick of the wrist. It is a swoop that uplifts our heart. We'll have a soft bend in our knees. Our chin is parallel to the ground. And we pause here to stop so that we can start. We'll start to feel our breath, if possible, in and out through our nose, but mostly to feel and experience our breath. To emphasize that, let's inhale and reach our arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V, and then we'll exhale and float our arms along our sides, palms facing out. That's simple. One more time. Inhale, V shape, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, float your arms along your sides. Adding on, I'll turn sideways so that you can see what I'm speaking to. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Take your hands to your thighs. So what we don't want when we fold forward is to round forward. So we'll take it slowly, hinging at our hip. If we have the assist of our hands on our thighs, we can feel a hinge at our hip and an elongation of our spine. It's actually encouraged by our hands on our thighs. You can do forward folds this way the whole time. Maybe you keep that length in your spine and slide your hands down towards your shins. The answer to that is, am I rounding? Because if you are, come back to where you can find your length. Perhaps you slide your hands down to your ankles, but this is not a competition. This is all about discovering some space. Now, we'll inhale, lift our heart, and I like to slide my hands up again for that uplift. Exhale, fold a little bit back in, but again, we're not rounding. And then inhale, rise, reach thumbs to the sky, a V. We stand in our mountain with our palms facing out. Facing the short edge of your mat with your feet hip distance. If you don't have a mat, just imagine. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs, possibly shins or ankles. Inhale, glide your hands up, lift your heart up. Exhale, fold back in, and then inhale, rise, reach thumbs to the sky, a V, and we stand into our mountain. Let's add on. Inhale, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to thighs or shins or ankles. Glide your hands up as you lift your heart, and then bend your knees deeply enough that your palms get flat on the ground. That's essential. We walk back to our first down dog, and as we do, oomph into your arms. Step your feet as wide as your mat. Come on your toes so you're on the balls of your feet. As you push the ground away, lift your sit bones like there's a hook in your tailbone. We want to make sure we're not crumbled, so elbows don't bend. We're not shoulders into ears. And if it feels okay to walk your feet about hip distance, that's fine, but not necessary. Shift to a plank, shoulders over wrists. And then bring yourself back with the hook in your tailbone to your down dog. Let's do that 2 more times. So we shift, shoulders over wrists, and then the hook in our tailbone takes us back to down dog. You can have that bend in your knees. I sure do. 1 more time, shift it to plank, shoulders over wrists, and then the hook in our tailbone takes us back. Walk forward, feet come all the way to your hands. We're hip distance and parallel. Inhale, glide your hands up, lift your heart up. Exhale, keep the length in your spine as we fold, and then rise, reach. Inhale, thumbs to the sky, and we pause with our palms facing out. We'll keep adding. Inhale, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, hinge, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart. Bend your knees deeply, palms go flat. Step back to down dog. Remember, we push the ground away the whole time. This time, as we shift to plank with our shoulders over our wrists, we'll bring our knees down. We want to make sure that we don't collapse. So we're still pushing the ground away. And although it seems almost counterintuitive, I'd like you to keep pushing the ground away and at the same time, bend your elbows so they brush against your ribs and we come in one piece onto our bellies. Uncurl your toes so you're pressing the tops of your feet down. Bring your forearms so that they're parallel to the long edges of your mat. Energize your legs, pressing into the tops of your feet until your kneecaps lift. And then traction your elbows towards you so we feel a long and strong back bend here. Lower down, take your hands next to your ribs, curl your toes under in one piece, come to all fours. And then with the hook in our tailbone, bring it back to down dog. Remember, we're pushing the ground away the whole time. Then walk your feet to your hands. We arrive with our feet hip distance and parallel. Glide your hands up, lift your heart, inhale. Glide your hands down, hinging at your hips. And then inhale, rise, reach thumbs to the sky, a V, and we pause with our palms facing out. Let's flow. Inhale, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs, or your shins, or your ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale, bend your knees deeply, palms go flat. We step to down dog and push the ground away the whole time. Shift, shoulders over wrists in a plank. Keep pushing the ground away. Bring your knees to your mat. Keep pushing the ground away. Bend your elbows and come to your belly. Uncurl your toes. Option to keep your hands where they are or sphinx like we did before, but come into a careful, long, strong back bend. Then lower down. Curl your toes under. One piece. We come to all fours. And then our hips lift us up and back, and we're again in our downward facing dog. Walk your feet forward to your hands. We're hip distance and parallel. Glide your hands up, lift your heart, inhale. Glide your hands down, exhale as we hinge and fold. And then we rise and reach, thumbs to the sky, a V. We'll pause with our palms facing out. Inhale, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs or shins or ankles. Glide your hands up and inhale. Palms go flat. We step to down dog. Once we're in down dog, lift your right leg back behind you and then step it forward, and most of us are going to need to help that along. No shame in that. Lower your back knee. This might be an opportunity to put your folded blanket underneath your left knee. And then arms to the sky, thumbs to the sky, a V. Take your hands behind you, interlace, drag your knuckles down towards the ground, and then tuck those knuckles on your right hip and feel like you're bringing your elbows towards one another, and there's a little smile to our collarbones, like the Sphinx or Cobra pose you just did on your belly. Then release your knuckles down to the ground, arms up to the sky, thumbs to the sky, hands to your mat, step it to down dog. From down dog, lift your left leg behind you, then step your left foot forward, and again, you may want to help it along. Lower your back knee. If the folded blanket is helpful, find that. Arms to the sky, thumbs to the sky, and then we'll interlace our hands behind our back again. Swap it so that the other pinky is on the bottom. You'll drag your knuckles down as if they were going to tuck in the back of your right knee, and now bend your elbows and take your interlace to tuck on your left hip. And our elbows are drawing towards one another a bit as we breathe here, feeling that little bit of Sphinx pose happening in our upper back. Drag your knuckles down and then reach your arms to the sky, thumbs to the sky, hands to your mat, step it to down dog. You can stay in downward facing dog or shift into a plank position, shoulders over wrists. Bring your knees to your mat, keep pushing the ground away. Lower slowly and carefully onto your belly. Uncurl your toes. Maybe your hands stay where they are. Maybe you prefer a Sphinx pose. Then lower down, curl your toes under, come through all fours. And then the hook in our tailbone, takes us to downward facing dog. We'll walk our feet forward to our hands and arrive with our feet hip distance, and then slide your hands up. Inhale, lift your heart. Slide your hands down, hinge at your hips and fold. Then rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, and we stand into our mountain. Inhale, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale, palms flat, step back slowly, downward facing dog. Do remember that we push the ground away the whole time. Lift your right leg back behind you, step your right foot forward, maybe help it along. This time, you might want to trot your blocks in to assist on either side of your right foot. Let's get our alignment. So walk your right foot a little bit to the right, so there's not the feeling of being on a tightrope, but instead a little bit of sideways space. Feel a firmness to your belly, and likely bend your left knee, your back knee a bit, as we come upright with a V shape into what is called crescent pose. Crescent pose will interlace our hands behind our back and drag our knuckles down towards the ground. Then take that tuck on your right hip and draw your elbows towards each other. A couple of things that you might invite. You can let your left leg, back leg, straighten a bit. If that's pitching you forward or creating struggle, just keep that soft bend. Let the priority be the smile to your collarbones. And there's a pretty decent stretch in the front of our left leg, wouldn't you say? Now reach your arms to the sky, thumbs to the sky, V. Bring your hands maybe to your blocks, especially if they could use a little assist off the side of your mat. And then we come to down dog. And from down dog, lift your left leg behind you. Step that left foot forward. It might be helpful to help it along as it comes up. And then I like to use my blocks to give me some space to walk my left foot on this side to the left. Feel like I'm not on a tightrope, and that balance will be a little bit more available. Now bend your back knee a bit so that we come upright in this crescent pose. Thumbs to the sky, a V shape to start, then we'll interlace and swap it so the unlikely pinky is on the bottom again. Tuck your interlace onto your left hip, draw those elbows towards each other, and you could play with straightening your back leg on this side. It's your right leg a little bit. If it's giving you struggle, be okay with a nice soft bend. Feel all the feels. A couple of moments here. Then we will drag our knuckles down, release our arms, thumbs to the sky. Take your hands probably to your blocks so you can move them out of your way as we step to down dog. And then from down dog, walk your feet forward to your hands. Glide your hands up as we inhale, lift our hearts, and then hinge as we fold and slide our hands down. Inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, a V, and then we stand into our mountain. We're constructing sun salutation B quite slowly. One of those elements is a chair pose. What I don't want with chair is for us to be tucking our tailbone and loading our knees. So as we sit back and down with our arms to the sky, thumbs to the sky, a V, here's the sideways view. So again, not tucking, but instead shifting, like there's a little chair behind you that you're looking to sit into. The other thing you want to be a little aware of is that it's not turning into a big giant dump into your low back. So just find a nice soft place once again, a middle ground, a sweet spot. Let's sit and pause and breathe in our imaginary chair for 3 moments. Now stand it up. Pause in your mountain pose. Let's flow. Chair pose. Inhale, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, hands to your thighs or shins or ankles. Glide your hands up. Inhale, lift your heart, and then bend your knees so that your hands go flat. Step back, down dog, push the ground away the whole time. Lift your right leg behind you and step it forward. Remember, it's great to help it along. This time as we come up, you can use your blocks if you want to, and you might turn your left foot, your back foot flat on the ground at a 45-degree angle. We come up in our lunge. That can be the same lunge that we did before on the ball of your back foot, if you prefer it. Hands to maybe your blocks, eventually onto your mat, but spin on your back toes and step to down dog. Lift your left leg behind you. Step that left foot forward. And then it could be that you bring your blocks. You might turn your right foot, your back foot, flat. Our front knee is bent deeply, and we come up into our lunge, and you get to fashion a lunge that makes sense for you. So you don't need to have the back foot flat unless it feels like the right move. Then hands can come through your blocks onto your mat. We come to down dog, and I give you the option to express your agency. Maybe you stay here in down dog. Maybe you come forward into plank, knees down, keep pushing the ground away as we come to our belly. And then uncurl your toes. You can keep your hands where they are or make it Sphinx pose. Lower yourself enough that you can curl your toes under, come through all fours, and then our hips lift up and back into our downward facing dog. We'll flow that one more time. So walk your feet forward to your hands. Lift your heart as you inhale. You can slide your hands up. Hinge, folding in. Chair pose is a bend to our knees and a V shape with our thumbs to the sky. Then we stand and we pause, and let's dance once more. Chair pose, inhale. Exhale, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale. Bend your knees, palms flat, step it into down dog. Push the ground away the whole time. Lift your right leg, step it forward. You can help it. Maybe it's crescent, maybe your back foot goes flat, and we come up into warrior one. Then hands to your mat for down dog. Take your time, maybe use your blocks. Left leg lifts. Step it forward, either crescent or your back foot goes flat for warrior one. Now this time, hands to your mat, come into down dog. From down dog, shift it to plank. Bring your knees to your mat, and as we lower to our bellies, let's stay here on our bellies. Uncurl your toes. Now, reach your arms back behind you and put your palms flat onto the ground. I'd like you to feel like this is a lever to explore our back bend. So we're not using our chin to create a back bend, tempting though that might be. Press your palms into your mat and feel that you can lift your collarbones into a smile, a little bit like when we interlaced our hands in our lunge. Now you have the feedback of the ground against your belly. Lift your belly away from the ground so you can feel that you're engaging your abdominal. And imagine that you're tucking your tailbone ever so slightly towards the ground. Now that's not going to really be able to happen much because the ground is there. But instead of dumping into your low back, we had that conversation in a chair pose, think long, strong back bend. Press into the tops of your feet till your kneecaps lift. I know I'm giving you a lot. Let's pause, chin parallel to the ground, and feel all those elements. Smiling collarbones, low belly lifting towards your spine, a tuck of your tailbone as if you could, engagement of your legs pressing the tops of your feet till your kneecaps lift. Then lower down and make a pillow with your hands. Bend your knees, windshield wiper your legs back and forth. One more time, almost like that. I'd like you to bend your knees so that your feet are facing the sky, pardon me. Feel your low belly lift, and imagine even with your knees bent and your feet facing the sky that you're trying to tuck your tailbone. Feels a little odd to consider that. Now we took our arms alongside us with our palms facing down. Let's do that to start. But now, feel the collarbones spread. Resist the temptation to throw your chin forward. Keep your knees bent. And then just reach with your hands towards your legs. You're not going to hold on right now. And that's probably enough for most of us, just to try here with the reach of our arms. Our thighs are on the ground. If you know that your low back is fine with it, you can begin to lift your thighs off your mat. That will help you to find the tuck of your tailbone a little bit. And my goodness, can't you feel the backs of your legs working? Now let's release this much. Make a pillow with our hands and windshield wiper one more time. We'll take another swat at that in a moment, but that might be the recipe that some of you use for both times through. Now let's keep our knees bent. Reach our arms alongside us, palms face down. Feel the smile to our collarbones, the tuck of our tailbone. Our knees are bent so our feet are to the sky. Start to reach back as if to hold your feet. Now, some of you will be able to reach back and hold your feet. Some of us, like I said, will just use the first recipe. You could even use something like a kitchen towel to lasso your feet if you really want to. But I think just reaching towards them is going to be fine. Stay here if this is enough. Lift your thighs a bit if that works for you. Think long, strong, and be careful because it sure is tempting to do this with our chin. Let's not. We've got 3 moments here. Then release it down, make that pillow, and windshield wiper your legs back and forth for a moment. Now, bring your feet down, position your hands next to your ribs. Remember how we come in one piece onto all fours when we were dancing through our sun salutation? Let's do that now, hands and knees. And then once we're on our hands and knees, we'll sit with our legs out in front of us. And you might sit on your folded blanket. That can feel pretty great right about now, especially if it feels like you're tempted to round your spine. We've been working these back bends. Let's try to give our back bends a chance to survive. Now, bending your right knee, step your right foot over your straight left leg. I like to often take my block, put it where my right hand is going to go behind me for this twist. Left arm to the sky, thumb to the sky. Feel the back bend work that we did. Curl your left toes towards you, and then you can simply hug your right knee. You might take your left elbow on the outside of your right thigh. It's up to you. And I'm going to give you a full minute of silence for us to twist, which is actually very complementary to the back bends that we've been doing. So we'll inhale and grow tall, and exhale, lovingly nudge into our twist. Thirty more seconds. Now unwind slowly. Release your right leg out in front of you. You can give it a little waggle. It's now our left leg that will do the bend and step over. And you can take your block and place it now behind your body where your left hand will go. Let's flex our right toes back towards us. Find evidence of our back bend work as we grow tall. Right arm to the sky, thumb to the sky. Remember the option to simply hug that left thigh. Maybe left hand on, or left tricep on the outside of, right tricep on the outside of your left thigh. Now let's inhale, grow tall, and exhale, snuggle into our twist. Keep flexing those right toes towards you, and here's our 1 minute of silence. Now we unravel, take your time, help your left leg over your right leg, and then with your feet hip distance and your knees pointing to the sky, lean back slowly, lie all the way down, and then place a hand on your heart and a hand on your low belly as we're here. You can even close your eyes if you'd like to, if you're comfortable with that. The shape that we're about to make is identical almost to what we did on our belly, but now our relationship to the ground has flipped over. So we'll snuggle our shoulder blades together, have our elbows next to our ribs, our feet parallel, and then as if we were little robots with our fingertips to the sky, draw your chest through the gateway of your arms. This could be where it ends. You might begin to lift your hips up. Remember the back leg in your lunge where I said, hey,
Maybe you want to keep that back knee bent. It's doing the same hip extension here in our bridge pose. Now lower down and place a hand on your heart and a hand on your low belly. We'll do that bridge pose, what we just did, one more time. So let's start as robots, robot arms, fingers to the sky. Draw your chest through the gateway of your arms, press into your feet, let your hips lift a little bit, maybe quite a bit, and be totally content staying here. Perhaps palms flat feels good to you. You can also interlace. Remember how we started? And you could snuggle your shoulder blades underneath you and press that interlace into the ground. So maybe you're wearing into this bridge pose an arm position that we rehearsed a little bit earlier. Then we'll gently release down, place a hand on our heart and a hand on our low belly, and then cross right ankle on top of left thigh in a figure 4. And maybe we just stay here, or maybe we take our right hand through the space and have a little interlace across the front of your left shin or around your left hamstring. If your head is having a hard time resting on the ground, put your block or folded blanket underneath your head. Then release and place your feet on your mat. Now it's left ankle, figure 4ing across your right thigh, and it can stay just like this. Or thread the needle, interlacing around the front of your right shin or the hamstring of your right leg. And we pause here. Now gently release, place your feet on your mat, and walk your feet as wide as your mat. Let your knees fall in on each other. So we're wider than when we did our bridge pose. But much like our bridge pose, snuggle your shoulder blades underneath you. Ever so gently lift your hips a teeny bit. Lower your hips back down. You might stay here or extend one leg and then the other leg into our Shavasana final meditation, our rest and digest. You're welcome to stay here in your Shavasana final meditation as long as you'd like. If you're ready, give a little wiggle to your fingers and toes and reach your arms and legs away from each other. Gather up your knees into your chest, roll to either side, and carefully bring yourself up to any comfortable seated position. You might even sit atop your folded blanket or one of your blocks. And then just give yourself a moment. Let's place our hands on top of our heart. Lots of back bends. Some people call that a heart opening practice. And maybe you feel some evidence of that now. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me.
I look